Hey, this is Joe Hubbard from joehubbardbassvideos.com and welcome to Advanced Bass. This particular video is on the anatomy of the groove, so with that in mind, grab your bass and let's get started. So much pontification takes place in this day and age about the definition of a groove related to what bass players should be providing to the music in question. There is a huge disconnect musically with what many people teach, which often falls into the cracks of esoteric interpretation, rather than providing you with tangible musical concepts that will enable you to have a roadmap providing you with some great musical ideas to complement the music you're playing. This particular problem is often exacerbated by confusing the definition of a groove with stylistic interpretation, which dictates the feel of what you play. It goes way beyond the scope of this particular video to delve into stylistic interpretation, but with that in mind, make sure that you're spending significant time both listening and playing to the styles that you're interested in, as the development of feel is developed through these two mediums. Trying to scientifically teach feel is like attempting to describe what sweet is to someone who has never tasted anything that is sweet. Musically speaking, for our purpose as bass players, a groove is a repetitive idea, often played using 2, 4, and 8-bar phrases derived from harmonic, melodic, and rhythmic content, often where the rhythmic context is just as important or more important than the melodic structure of the line. In musical terms, this would be described as an ostinato line. There's many devices that can be used to develop a groove, but the first and foremost concept is repetition, which is established as an initial idea to familiarize the listener with the material that is to be developed. The problem arises when people come up with a simple riff and can't develop that idea any further without destroying the characteristic essence of that groove. What we're going to do is take a look at a simple ostinato pattern along with some cool devices to help us develop our ideas harmonically, melodically, and rhythmically. Stick with me. Harmonically, this groove is based on a minor 7th chord. Notice in the first two examples, I'm only playing root octave, so the entire emphasis is on the rhythm. In the next example, I've introduced a flat 3 which resolves to tension 11, creating a suspended feel. In the last two beats, I've added a turnaround using flat 7 and 5 that takes us back to the root. next example, I'm using a device called displacement, where the last 2 beats of each bar have been moved back 1 beat. In this next example, I'm starting to add a little bit more rhythmic content and creating counterpoint by playing in the negative space of the kick drum. This is what I call the kitchen sink, where everything is added. This is probably not a good place to start, but rather something to build up to. Investigate the practical applications of these concepts by orchestrating these ideas into different sections of a song. Putting this all together, when you learn about music and its component parts, they have to have a connection with one another. If they don't connect musically, the sum of the whole will be less than the sum of the individual parts. Music is very systematic, and one of the main benefits of understanding a system is realizing that the sum of the whole is greater than the sum of the individual parts. This is exactly what distinguishes a system from a pile of junk. A car is just a disconnected pile of parts when it doesn't work properly, and it only takes one part to go wrong for the whole system to break down. With that in mind, a small change in the way you learn can make the whole system work again and much more efficiently. You can now take advantage of this by checking out my bass courses at joehubbardbassvideos.com and get a huge result for very little effort put in. Stop wasting your time watching YouTube videos all day where you're compartmentalizing all these disconnected parts, which amount to really just a pile of junk. The first order of change is finding out how you're maintaining your skills presently, and then simply adding a little leverage musically in order to improve them. Until next time, practice smart, work hard, and play creatively.